the gorilla suddenly went crazy in the studio. It completely tore apart the actress's face. The little boy witnessed the entire incident. At that moment, a man walked out. The gorilla let out a scream. It cornered and killed the man in a booth. After killing the man, the gorilla walked out. It leaned against the sofa. It took off its tricorn hat. The next moment, it looked towards the little boy under the table. It crawled over. A child experienced such a terrifying incident. It is inevitable to worry about his well-being. However, the little boy named Jupu was unaffected. The show from that year attracted a large number of viewers. Cruelty and violence became the key to popularity. Jupu was inspired. He opened a theme park when he grew up. He made money by capitalizing on the gimmick of the gorilla goatee killing people. On that day, a pair of siblings came to the door. They wanted to sell the horses on the farm. Dane, the younger sister, discovered the poster of Home with Goatee. She had heard her father talk about that cruel accident. Jupu saw that the other party was very interested in this. He offered to take them for a free tour and left them with souvenirs from the show. A pair of shoes stained with blood, the birthday hat on the gorilla's head. All the items were placed in a display cabinet. Countless tourists paid a hefty price to visit this room. Jane thought Jupu was very friendly. On the way back, her brother, Otis, said the theme park bought that entire horse farm, but he will buy a few more horses and come back to restore the splendor when their father was alive. The decline of the horse training center and their father's death was very mysterious. It was a normal summer many years ago. Otis was helping his father manage the horse farm. In fact, they didn't need to do much. The farm relied on electricity. It had already achieved semi-automated management. Their father was training horses for a movie at that time. Otis walked towards the stable carrying a toolbox. Suddenly, his phone screen remained lit. A large cluster of clouds gathered in the sky. Immediately after, it seemed like an unidentified object was falling towards the ground. Otis turned his head to look. His father fell off the horse's back. A coin pierced into his father's brain through his right eye. A key was inserted into the horse's buttocks. This experience took away the vitality of the horse farm. Otis took over the family business. He replaced his father in training horses. He participated in various filming. On that day, the staff frightened the black horse. As a result, Otis was kicked out of the movie set. He could only sell the horses at home. That's why he went to the theme park and met Jupu. Now, there's only one white horse left at home. At night, even the horse went crazy and ran away. Otis drove his car to chase after it. He arrived at a hilltop. He saw the theme park in the distance. Suddenly, an unidentified object floated in the air. This reminded Otis of the day his father died tragically. He hurried back home to check the surveillance footage. Unfortunately, the equipment was too old, and he couldn't see clearly. The next day, the siblings were planning to replace the surveillance system. Although it was a significant expense, but as long as they could capture that spectacle, they could make a big profit. The new surveillance system came with a backup battery. It could still operate even during a power outage. The staff installing the surveillance system were very enthusiastic. Before leaving, they even helped the siblings unload the horses. They reordered several horses for training purposes. Jane brought them back from the theme park. A fake horse with ribbons tied to it. Jupu, who happened to pass by, didn't recognize his own belongings. He invited the two of them to go to the park on Friday to watch a performance. When night fell, the lights in the yard suddenly turned on. Otis went out to investigate. He turned off the lights. There was nothing in the stable. He turned around to go back to his room. Unexpectedly, the lights that were turned off turned on again. Upon closer inspection, something poked its head out from the warehouse. Otis was startled and took a few steps back. He immediately took out his phone to capture it on video. It turned out it was just a prank by Jupu's kids. They knew about the stolen fake horse. They deliberately came to seek revenge. Otis prepared to lead the horses outside back to the stable. As a result, the horse also ran far away. Otis was also knocked down. When he got up, he discovered there was a strange cloud in the distance. At this moment, Jane also received a call from Enzo. It turned out that the other person was a UFO enthusiast. He guessed the purpose behind the siblings' purchase of the surveillance system, so he secretly monitored them remotely, observing their horse farm. He called and said camera B was blocked by a praying mantis. This scene might not be recorded. The horses in the stable neighed frantically. There was clearly something strange within the clouds. Jane shouted for her brother to run quickly. All the power sources and phones at home malfunctioned. Otis took refuge in a wooden shed. He clearly saw a circular UFO. A whirlwind stirred up sand. The agitated horses disappeared. Jane realized that there really was an unidentified flying object. She wanted to contact the director to come and film, but she was flatly refused by the other party. At this moment, the surveillance technician also hurriedly ran over. He carefully observed the surveillance footage last night and discovered that on a nearby hilltop, there was a cloud that had never moved from its position. It was highly likely that the extraterrestrial spacecraft was hidden inside. Although the surveillance captured abnormal weather conditions, it couldn't serve as evidence of extraterrestrial existence. Soon, Friday arrived. The theme park's show began. On the spacious field, there was a large square box covered with green cloth. Jupu snapped his fingers. The green curtain slid down. Inside the transparent box was the black horse. Jupu said that next, he will lead out an alien spacecraft. No one was allowed to film. Following the tradition, he first had the children perform to warm up the crowd. However, today was a bit different. A loud noise came from the sky. The extraterrestrial spacecraft that was supposed to appear in an hour was already in the clouds. Jupu insisted on following the procedure. Unexpectedly, along with the power outage in the park and the raging hurricane, everyone was sucked into the spaceship. They were trapped in a narrow, intestine-like space. Wriggling, the viscous fluid inside was corroding their bodies. When Otis remembered the performance on Friday and arrived at the scene, he discovered the theme park was in ruins. All the visitors had disappeared. Only the black horse remained, locked in a glass box. That strange circular spaceship was still hovering in the air. Soon, it dived down with its mouth wide open. Otis took shelter in the horse stable and narrowly escaped. After waking up from unconsciousness, he immediately caught Jane. Behind the clouds, there was no extraterrestrial spaceship at all. It was a creature that could devour humans, and this monster had a strong territorial instinct. It's highly likely that it considered the horse stable and the park grounds as its own territory. Before Jane could fully understand, the call suddenly disconnected. All the lights in the house went out. Enzo was also present at this moment. He was hiding under the table, holding a knife. The creature was right above the roof. A large number of small objects started falling from the sky, just like the day the old stable owner died. Upon careful consideration, these keys and coins were likely things the creature couldn't digest. After devouring people, it excreted them onto the top of other people's heads. Red blood poured down from the roof. The creature seemed to be injured. It had a round opening. Red blood mixed with rainwater, drenching the entire house. Otis drove back in a hurry. The creature was screaming in midair. Otis didn't dare to make any sudden moves. He could only hide in the car and observe. Until dawn, the power was restored to normal. The fake horse was still attached to Otis' car. The White House was dyed red. Otis woke up from his sleep. He started the car and approached the villa, and then got out of the car. Otis gradually approached Enzo's van. He opened the car door and signaled for Jane to hurry over. They had to leave as soon as possible. However, the creature sensed the human presence. The massive cloud layer descended closer to the ground. Somehow, Otis remembered. The dark horse is scared because saw my own eyes in the mirror. Otis quickly lowered his head, no longer looking directly at the creature. It was one of the ways to deal with wild animals in the wild. Jane and Enzo ran over. The three of them got into the car and closed the doors. Escaping, they hurried to Enzo's house. The case of the theme park caught the attention of the media. 40 tourists and staff members disappeared. All the surveillance cameras malfunctioned. The police station couldn't find any leads. The director Jane had contacted saw the news. He sensed something unusual. He immediately contacted Jane. The next day, he drove to the horse stable. The director saw the stagnant cloud. He asked Otis, "How can we lure out the alien creature?" Otis answered, "It comes down to eat during mealtime." Otis speculated, the reason why the creature stays here is that Jup has been feeding it with horses, but the alien creature realizes it is being treated as a circus clown, a predator. Why would it willingly be tamed? That's why it went berserk and swallowed the people in the park. And the creature's massive bleating last night was probably because its airway was blocked by the fake horse. Otis suggested, "We can't lure it out with food." The director hid on a distant ridge to film. He brought a handheld camera. Otis and the others were full of confidence. Take immediate action. Otis knew, no matter how terrifying the creature was, it was not much different from other animals. The process was similar to horse training. Once you understood its temperament, any animal could be subdued. They planned meticulously, preparing the necessary tools. Finally, the day arrived. Because the creature was previously hurt by the fake horse with flags, so a few people placed a large number of colorful balloon people in the open space of the race course, wanting to catch its attention. The siblings also wore brightly colored clothes. Otis rode on a horse and galloped across the open space. Everything was ready. Unexpectedly, a journalist riding a motorcycle burst onto the scene with a camera. He also wanted to uncover the secret of the missing park visitors. Motorcyclist ignores chain's obstruction. He rushed into the prepared counter-electric field. Almost instantly, he fell off the motorcycle and collapsed on the ground. Otis disregarded his own safety. He rode his horse to investigate. The man persisted in holding on to the camera. Even at the brink of death, Otis couldn't save the man in time, as the creature had already appeared. It sucked the man in with one gulp. Then it chased after them, hovering over Otis in the air. Otis immediately lowered his head. He put on his hood and rode the horse forward. The creature ascended into the clouds, watching the protagonist. Just as the creature was about to swallow him, Otis seized the opportunity. He dropped the prepared flags and balloons. The creature was afraid of getting its airway blocked again. As expected, it moved aside to avoid the flags. Its massive body kicked up yellow sand. Otis dismounted and took cover in a shed. The photographer shouted in joy. Everyone felt that the mission was a success. However, the director in charge of filming remained silent and refused to disclose whether he captured anything on film. Shortly after, he left a few words: "Put the camera on your back," and walked towards the top of the mountain. He shook the electroless camera and pointed it directly at the clouds. The creature sensed someone's presence. It flew towards the director, devouring both the person and the camera. It flew towards the photographer. Fortunately, the photographer was wrapped in swirling blue plastic sheets, temporarily escaping the danger. At this moment, the creature sensed Jane's gaze. It swiftly flew over and sucked the entire house away. Jane was thrown onto the ground. The creature was angered by the teasing. It relentlessly attacked the people on the ground. Jane got up, lowered her head, and walked briskly. By now, the creature had begun to transform. It resembled a massive jellyfish, unfurling its soft tentacles, following closely behind Jane. At the critical moment, Jane's motorcycle wouldn't start. The balloon figures around her collapsed to the ground. The creature was about to pounce on the female lead. Otis deliberately whistled and locked eyes with the creature, redirecting its attention to himself, buying time for Jane to escape. The girl anxiously looked towards her brother in the distance. The creature had already reached Otis' side. At this moment, the balloon figure next to Jane stood up. Her motorcycle also returned to normal. Jane started the vehicle and sped forward. The fate of her brother was unknown. The creature chased after them once again. Jane escaped to a theme park. She slid to a stop in one place. Jane released the giant balloon figures in the park. She noticed there was a photo wish pool behind her. She picked up a coin from the ground and put it into the machine, waiting for the perfect moment to capture. The creature flew towards the giant helium balloon in the sky and swallowed it in one gulp. Jane successfully captured this scene. The helium balloon was compressed in the creature's digestive tract. Jane excitedly shouted upon seeing it. The creature exploded into pieces in the air. Reporters arrived upon hearing the news. Jane struggled to stand upright. Her brother appeared in front riding a horse. The movie ends here. In this film, the invasion of Earth no longer involves intelligent extraterrestrial beings, but rather powerful predatory creatures. Aside from the storyline, the movie was filmed in IMAX, providing a spectacular and awe-inspiring experience. Highly recommended to watch in theaters. If you enjoy my channel, please consider subscribing.